friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy and this is episode 1 of my new series, ADHD with Amy. So I thought about a long time starting this, but if you're new here, I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 27, which is late for some people and early for others, but my goal sharing my journey here is that one day it's going to help someone else who struggles with the things that I grew up struggling with. In the upcoming YouTube episodes, I'll talk more about the symptoms, how I got diagnosed, because there is a lot of misinformation on how to get diagnosed, what medication options are there, what treatment options are there, therapy, symptoms that aren't commonly seen, relationship advice for those with ADHD, friendships and how they're affected by ADHD, work and career and ADHD, and just living with ADHD. So let's get started. All right, let's get started. So to start off, getting diagnosed with ADHD at 27, I guess I'll start my story with, I never expected to have ADHD. Like, not once in my life did I think I would be diagnosed with ADHD. Actually, throughout my life, I did struggle with little things that I couldn't explain. And since I was a kid, I really thought I would have Alzheimer's as I got older, because I would always forget things. I would always lose things. I'd misplace things. I'd forget people's names. And like, I took it very seriously to the point where I told doctors every year at my PCP checkups that like, I want to get my brain checked, because I was so worried. And ever since then, they were always like, no, it doesn't show up until you're older, until you're 40, 50, so it's not something you have to worry about. But there were so many things that I couldn't explain about myself, and it wasn't until this past year where it became so frustrating that I had to figure out what was wrong. So I guess to give you a backstory about what things happened as kids. So growing up, I struggled a lot with like forgetting things. I would put stuff in the trunk, I would forget it. My mom would always yell at me for forgetting to close lights, shut off lights, close doors, close drawers. I would constantly lose stuff. My mom said if my certain body parts weren't attached to my body, then I would lose those as well. I would forget my own name. A lot of things that I couldn't explain. And so I really struggled with that. And I think all of these things built up when I was a kid because it was so degrading and humiliating, because I felt like I was so smart. I felt like I had so much potential, but I also felt like I was so careless and messy, and I would lose things, I would forget things, and I couldn't explain why. And so it's almost like you don't feel like yourself, because you're like, oh, I think I'm really smart. I think I have a lot of potential. I have so many great ideas, and yet I can't even remember to shut off the lights on my way out the door. And so this past year, I've been blessed and fortunate enough to meet a few of my friends, close friends, who have been diagnosed with ADHD and have dealt with it for a longer period of their life than I am. And we got along so well. We talked all the time, ABC. And then one day they were like, you know, Amy, have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, you might have ADHD? And I was like, no, I don't have ADHD. Why would I have ADHD? It doesn't even make sense. And then that really sparked me to look into ADHD, look at the symptoms, follow some Instagram pages. And I was like, why do I relate to this meme? Why do I relate to this meme? Why does this make so much sense? And so I think just being introduced to the concept of ADHD was shocking to me, because growing up, we just think ADHD is just like, oh, you just have a difficulty paying attention, or oh, that kid has ADHD, they're just fidgeting in class, they can't sit still. And so what is ADHD? ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. And so for the longest time, I didn't think I could have ADHD because I wasn't necessarily hyperactive. But what I realized after being diagnosed is that not everyone shows their hyperactivity the same, especially in males and females. And I'll go in depth more in a different video, but males as younger kids show the hyperactivity. They have a difficult time sitting still. They have a difficult time not moving. And for girls, especially females who are Asian, you're taught at a young age to sit still, to be respectful, to keep your chin up and just be well behaved. Otherwise, you were yelled at, you were punished. And so as a kid, we were learned to mask things. And masking is essentially putting on literally a mask of who you are. And it can be really frustrating because I did feel like so much of my life I've been breathing, but like not a full breath. You know, I've just been like holding it in and presenting a version of myself, but hiding all the things I was embarrassed about. If someone was coming over to our house, whether it was a family member, I would clean rapidly. If I knew my mom was gonna look at my bag, I'd have to go through my bag and clean everything out. Even to this day, I mean, leading up to this point, if someone says they're coming over to my place, then I'm frantically cleaning and hiding my messiness. And that's a form of masking. So it does really show differently in males and females, and a lot of females are actually underdiagnosed and not diagnosed with ADHD because they don't show the symptoms of hyperactivity. And that's really tough, right? Because the girls are struggling. They're just struggling internally, and the hyperactivity happens in here. And so I couldn't explain it to a lot of people, but my brain would always be racing. I'd have so many thoughts. I'd be like, okay, I gotta do this. I have this idea. I gotta get that done. I gotta do this. And moving so fast, and I couldn't gather my thoughts. But that really started to make sense to me when I learned what ADHD was. Another part of ADHD is the attention deficit disorder. And I think what made me not realize that I had ADHD was because there were moments in my life where I could really focus. There were moments where I could really focus, and then moments where I couldn't focus at all. And that can be confusing for people with ADHD, and I'll explain that as well in another video. But the reason why it's called attention deficit hyperactive disorder, it's not necessarily that we're deficient in attention, it's that we have a difficult time regulating where our attention goes. And so if I'm super interested in something, then I will hyper focus and be super focused in it to the point where I don't pay attention to things that really are important. And then we lack attention in other areas and things that we don't find interesting. And so little moments that really made me realize that I had ADHD were if someone was talking to me and I couldn't pay attention to them at all, but I was listening to everybody's conversation on the side, all of the noise. Or if someone was talking to me but they had the TV on, I wouldn't be able to focus. I would listen to the TV, and it was just my brain having a hard time deciding where my focus should go. And so if you feel like you might potentially have ADHD and you're not sure, I would just continue learning. I would go on Instagram and like look at different resources. I would go on YouTube, and then I would go see a professional. And so once everything started clicking together, I finally decided to go get tested and go get diagnosed. And I wouldn't have if it hadn't gotten to the point where it was debilitating. It was hard to wake up. As soon as I woke up, I would jump from task to task. I would go, okay, dishes. While the dishes are going, I'm gonna go microwave something. And while the microwave is going, I'm gonna go wash more dishes. And then I'm gonna clean my room. And then everything would be half completed. And that's a huge part of ADHD that people struggle with, is that there are a lot of projects that you start and you have a difficult time finishing them because you can't maintain focus on one item. And as I got older, I used to think that multitasking was this grand superpower, and I've realized that multitasking is actually less productive because the results aren't as good as if you were to just focus on one task at a time and get it done. That's when I realized I really needed to look internally and see if it was true. And so I got tested, and my diagnosis came back as severe ADHD. And I think old Amy would be very embarrassed to share that, but new Amy and current Amy is actually really happy that I'm diagnosed, and very happy that I've learned this about myself, because it explains so many parts of my childhood that I couldn't explain for myself. Such as the fact that I can't wear certain fabrics. Certain fabrics make me feel very uncomfortable, so I can only wear things that feel good on my skin. I couldn't wear leather. Anytime someone wanted to wear like those swishy materials, I love the way they look, but I just can't wear the jackets unless I had something covering it and then the jacket. Other people can wear it directly. I get super restless in bed. I start kicking, right? And I just thought, okay, I have restless leg syndrome, but the restlessness comes with the ADHD. And so what people don't realize is there's so many random symptoms in your life that are unexplainable, and then you learn what ADHD is and you realize that all of these little things fall into ADHD. And so if you feel like you're struggling and you feel like there are a lot of things that you can't explain, like difficulty focusing, difficulty in certain relationships. I think because people with ADHD are easily bored and understimulated, which is why people with ADHD take stimulant drugs. We just get bored really quickly, which is why we jump from task to task, from things to things to things. And if you feel that way and you're struggling, I highly recommend looking into it and getting diagnosed and getting help. I also go to therapy for general health, mental health, but also for my ADHD, and it's helped profoundly in all of that. It's given me a safe place to validate myself. It's given me a safe place to share the things that I struggle with. And I think it's really important for people to understand that ADHD is a serious neurodevelopmental disorder that we don't really understand, but we throw around a lot. And I think I did that growing up. I'd be like, oh, we're all a little ADHD. We all have a little bit of this, but it's really hard. I think we need to be more cognizant and aware of the symptoms that come with ADHD, and also so that we can be better parents if our kids have ADHD, and to truly listen. The way that we speak to our kids will become the way that they speak to themselves. So the way that our parents spoke to us become our inner voices. And if we're telling our kids that they're forgetful, that they're messy, that they're all over the place, that they don't finish projects, then it's really hard in adulthood to feel like they're capable of doing such things. Had I been diagnosed younger, I would have been way more forgiving with all of the things that I went through growing up. My goal here is to hopefully raise awareness so that kids and others can actually potentially learn whether that's something that they have. So this is episode 1. This is the first episode in my journey to sharing ADHD with you guys. I hope you guys stay tuned in my ADHD with Amy. If you have any questions, I'll also do a Q&A in an episode and you guys can put it below. But this has been such a learning process for me and I'm really excited to share it with you guys all. Don't forget to like, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what you'd like to see more of. I'll catch you guys in my next video.